Hey, this is Bill Beaudry from KarmaCalculator.com. I want to show you how you actually use the Karma Calculator fortunes that come out. And I'm doing these videos because Chinese New Year's is coming up. It's the perfect time to get your fortune. Chinese New Year is around the 18th or 19th this year. Though, of course, these fortunes always kick in February the 4th or 5th. So Chinese New Year's is usually when it starts to change, but actually for this type of Chinese fortune telling system, which is a special one, it's about the 4th or the 5th. Now, I want to go through the fortune of my friend David last year because this is a perfect example of how this works and how it symbolically tells you what's going on the whole year. Sometimes it tells you very, very exact details, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it'll actually tell you you're going to move this year, or you're going to make a lot of money this year, or you're going to lose a lot of money, or you'll be sick, or so forth and so on. That's why when we do these readings, we always give people a bunch of back years so they learn how to use them, and a bunch of forward years in the future so they can also see how to use them. Your fortune can always be changed, but people always want to know, what's coming up. And so here's the general idea for this particular fortune. The first thing you do is you don't concentrate on the upper section. You always concentrate on the lower section first. In fact, you concentrate on this yellow section. First thing I go to every year is this yellow section, and you read this and you particularly concentrate on this description, but then this line, because this tells you what's going to go on. And it says for my friend David, a sure ascension will bring great fortune. So this year, this past year, he had fantastic great fortune. It was sort of, yada yada fortune and then great fortune this year. He had help in his advance, wins the trust of rulers, displays his ability, and what happened was he became the manager of many, many, many real estate projects, sort of out of nowhere. And he had a lot of people give him projects for last year and paid a lot of money. So, but during that time, he was very modest. He was very respectful. He obtains the introduction of the superior. That means other people introduce the projects to him. You have to read a sentence like this, and it's written hundreds of years ago, and you have to say, well, what does that mean for my life and my situation today? And that's how you understand the sentences. He gained fame and wealth that year. Pillar of the country, pillar of the country. Remember, this was written for a Confucian society, so that's a nice sort of description, but it doesn't really matter for individuals. Only a few people can be pillars of the country. Even if that is just an ordinary individual who is just a regular person in society, doesn't have a great base to start with. You're not famous to start with. Very understanding and thoughtful. He has a lot of supporters and succeeds in his pursuits this year. His family is rich and prosperous. It was a really good year for him and for his family. If you were an official, and an official today means a businessman, because you're working you're either working for the government, that's an official, or a person who works for a corporation is almost like an official, because large corporations are like governments. He would receive promotion, scholar, if you work in a university or you're a scholar, you'd be recommended for a position. Commoner enjoys success in his business. It was a great year, and the fortune told him that. Now, there's usually a section over here which is 1, 2, or 3 poems. They sometimes tell you how to change your fortune, though if you read this section, you also should know what to watch to change your fortune. If it said you're haughty that year, you should be very careful about being haughty, okay? And then you can change the fortune. So this one just basically says, if he asks about his future, it's not favorable for his plans, so just do what's there, okay? When the beauty waits for the autumn, the whole world will sing with joy. Well, autumn came, and most of all his activity was in the beginning of the year, and autumn came. He still had projects, but it was wonderful, and that's why autumn here was peaceful. There's this little section up here, which in general is usually correct, but you know what? Transits that you would usually find in Western astrology or Indian astrology, or if you were to use another method like Chinese Ziwei astrology, override this sort of general thing. This is more numerological. After you go through this, you can go to this section down here after you go through the upper yellow section, and this basically said that the one that you look at is this one I always look at, which is basically your mind body fortune. What's going on in your mind this year, and does it say anything about your body? Are you going to be sick or anything like that? If it mentions your legs, you have to be careful about your legs. If it mentions your back, you have to be careful about your back. So this is your personal fortune that year, and there was just basically good fortune. The nuclear hexagram is a sort of secret indication as to any inside relationships you might have, like with your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. They're internal relationships within the family, very close relationships. And this one is your relationship with the external world. You can use this particular section whenever there are any particular dealings, okay, or events for the year. If you have a lawsuit, you read the lawsuit section, which I've never seen fail in describing actually what the lawsuit was and what the strategy should be to solve the lawsuit, if it's the first year of the lawsuit, okay. So this one you don't look all the time, because you're not looking for pregnancy all the time. You're not looking for marriage every year. It's just when it is that year that it's going to happen. If we go up to this particular section, which I look at last, the fortune for his year is exactly what happened to him. He ended up doing real estate and a lot of construction, and sure enough, the picture and the description was this person is marking the log with lines, and this is a carpenter with divisions, and because of these two lines, polishing a mirror, there's not a blemish in a bit of dirt. I said, you might be doing a lot with windows or something like that, or mirrors of windows. You might be doing something like that. Well, actually, this also referred to the fact that this guy made a lot of progress this year in terms of meditation, because your mind is like a mirror, and your mind shines. There's no dirt on it, and this guy made a lot of progress this year that way too. And he isn't normally a meditator or cultivator, but this year he did, and his mom said he made tremendous amount of progress that way. So this is how you do the fortunes. I mean, this is one particular year. I'll show you a couple of these, and then you'll see how they work and how they match. We give you a couple years in the past, because you have to look at past years to see how they describe the fortune, so that you can see how they match, how to read them. They're written hundreds of years ago, and they describe the temperament of the year in a very general way. But in general, they'll be right in terms of, did you make money? Did you get married? Did you move? And did you get promoted? Did you lose your job? All sorts of things like that. And then, of course, we give you, years into the future. And most people who've ordered them will tell you that, yep, if you ordered 2 or 3 years, I usually gave you much more than that. If you ordered 5, I gave you more than that. It's already at a price which is lower than 1 year of a fortune that you would usually get from a Vedic astrologer. They're all charging $250, $225 just for 1 year. And let me tell you, all my friends that use them, they print them out, they bind them, and they look at it every year. It's like something that you need for life, because this is not going to change every year. The fortunes are computed forever, and then what you can do is you just look at them for, when's a good time to do something or not. You can always change your fortune, of course, with cultivation, and also by heeding the advice which is in the poems as well as within the fortune itself. And that's why this is useful, because it gives you all this sort of advanced information, as well as information like this. All right, so go on over to Karma Calculator and order your new fortune for the new year.